Bardella, advisor to the DCCC and the DNC and contributor to the Los Angeles Times and USA Today. I mean, it was a smoker last night. Let me do one more because J.D. Vance just keeps getting the business from Tim Ryan. Tim Ryan is something else. Here he is calling out J.D. Vance when he lied and tried to say he never said that Alex Jones is a more credible source of news than our very own beloved Rachel Maddow. Here's Tim Ryan giving him the business.
We are running for the United States Senate. This is the highest office you could get in this country except for president. And he's running around backing these extremists, the most extreme people in the country, a guy who denied Sandy Hook. He's like, he's credible.
Thank you, Congressman.
I mean, you don't have to, it's maddening.
This is a complete fabrication. I never
JD, you're
said
on
that,
tape, brother.
We can talk about, how I got in hot water with with saying that Alex Jones was a more credible source of information than Rachel Maddow. But one of the things that I saw in the reaction to that tweet was people are terrified of unconventional people.
Mr. Bardella, your witness.
Unconventional people. Boy, I bet Alex is going to be hitting them up for some money soon because I think he's got $1 billion worth of legal bills he's going to have to pay out soon. I mean, come on.
The thing about it is that the incentives in the primary process for Republicans are to run as far to the MAGA right as they can. But then they own that when they have to run in the general election. So now J.D. Vance, who wants to be super MAGA and wants to be like Alex Jones is the best and women should stay in abusive relationships. It doesn't matter if you're getting punched out, you need to have the baby. Now he wants to say, yeah, I agree with abortion exceptions. Well, here he is on abortion. Here's J.D. Vance.
An incest exception looks different at 3 weeks of pregnancy versus 39 weeks of pregnancy. So I actually don't think that you can say on a debate stage every single thing that you're going to vote for when it comes to an abortion piece of legislation. My principles here are I want to save as many lives as possible, and I'd love to get us to a country where young women don't feel pressured by boyfriends, by family to have abortions, where adoption services are available, and where young women can get access to the health care that they need to have babies.
They need to have babies. 39-week abortions. That is not a thing. Pregnancies normally last 41, 42 weeks.
Yeah.
The idea that Republicans keep putting up that somehow women are getting to 39 weeks, which is like 3 weeks or 2 weeks or maybe even 1 week before they're having a baby and be like, I think I'm going to have an abortion. It is ridiculous, but they keep saying it. But they keep saying it because no one stops them or calls them out.
Well, I mean, the one thing we've seen during the abortion debate that's unfolded is that most of these white Republican men have no idea how a baby's actually made.
Do they even know how to make a baby? I don't think they do.
No idea what
and
they're talking about.
Kids.
I'd love to see what his take is on Herschel Walker, by the way, talking about paying for abortions out there. Be that as it may, Tim Ryan, though, I think I have to say, has put on a clinic in terms of how to debate, how to deal with these MAGA Republicans, how to expose these MAGA Republicans, like you said, who in the primary, they're all about Donald Trump. The minute the primary ends, they're scrubbing their websites, they're changing their plans, they're trying to do everything they can to pretend like that primary didn't happen. And Tim Ryan's having none of it, and that is the playbook for how every Democrat running across the board should be running their campaigns.
Here's the thing. He is doing an excellent job. I think he is running the best campaign in the country, to be honest with you. I think that the race in Utah against Mike Lee, Evan McMullin running an excellent campaign. But in both of those cases, and in the case of Cortez Masto, who's ahead in many of the polls or tied, the conventional wisdom is they're all going to lose. Right. That no matter what Tim Ryan does, no matter how much he dog walks J.D. Vance, there's no way to win. I don't understand that because there's a Democratic senator in place right now in Ohio. Democrats can win because Sherrod Brown does. What do you think is behind this conventional wisdom that these candidates who are running really solid campaigns, they're just written off as they can't win?
You know what I hate about conventional wisdom? It's wrong so often, particularly in Washington, D.C. The amount of times that we have seen conventional wisdom tell us that something was going to happen and the exact opposite is exhaustive at this point. They're so afraid, the media beltway crowd, to actually take a stand and put themselves out there, make a prediction, that getting it wrong, they're afraid of that blowback and of looking like they've lost credibility. So it's like herd mentality at this point.
Yeah.
And they have no idea what's going to happen on election night, frankly.
Yeah.
And I think that we're going to get to election night, and there are going to be a ton of surprise, just like there has been in almost every election night now since 2016.
Yeah.
The conventional wisdom has never held. Why are we expecting this to be any different?
Well, they're going by history. And I think the other thing is, you having previously been a Republican, you know that Republicans are always optimistic and think we're never going to lose. I've never met a Republican who said they were going to lose. lose. Every Democrat I know thinks they're always going to lose. But then you look at the polls here, too, where people are saying that they're comfortable. They're telling pollsters in this New York Times Siena poll, which is what's freaking out most Democrats right now, that even 12% of Democrats are saying, oh, we're comfortable voting for an election denier. None of that matters to people who actually run campaigns. All that matters is who's voting. What are you hearing on the ground in terms of, because what I'm hearing is younger people, people of color, Asian Americans, African Americans, younger people are voting, and that women are voting like crazy.
Yeah, when you see some of the turnout numbers, and you talked about this earlier in the show, the massive turnout we're seeing already in early voting that dwarfs what we saw in brief, that tells me intuitively something's happening there on the ground, that the pollsters and the punditry. And
that's the only poll that matters.
Like that we always say, the only poll that matters is the one conducted on election day or when voting starts, and we are winning that right now. And I believe that's going to keep holding. I think that there's so much that's going to happen that doesn't show up in these polls, that doesn't show up in the mainstream media chatter, and people are going to be wondering, oh my God, we never saw it coming. Look at the voting numbers right now. You can see that coming right now.
Right, and it's hard to, and we have to bring it to an end, but it is very difficult to prognosticate what's going to happen in an election because humans are so unpredictable. You don't know what's going to motivate them day in and day out. But here's the thing, the day after some of these debates, people can vote right then and there. So their snap decision, like the one they gave the pollster, they can make the snap decision actually at the polls.
Well, and here's what we do know. We had elections so far in Alaska, New York, Kansas, and each one of those, our turnout was through the freaking roof. Our enthusiasm was through the roof. None of that was picked up in polling beforehand.
Right.
That's the only hard data we actually have in terms of elections after Roe was overturned.
And two things drive voters: enthusiasm and excitement, anger. And what I'm seeing and hearing out there is anger about the thing we talked to Eric Swalwell about last night, abortion. Kurt Bardella, thank you very much, man. Appreciate it. Up next on the